COVID washed hair. Is it inappropriate to call everything COVID?
No, well, we call it COVID Club, so.
That's true. Welcome to COVID Club.
Welcome to COVID Club. We've got a 2.2 litre, I think, thing of water.
Yeah, because yours broke. The arse fell out of it.
Oh yeah, this is Rob's. Mine was, mine smashed. So I've stolen Rob's.
So we got a super awesome, amazing guest coming on today.
I'm so excited, you guys.
We have Disgraceland, one of our favourite podcasts, coming on to do a little bit of a chat.
Yeah.
We're very excited. Hi everybody waving. How's it going? Nice to see you all. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello. One of these days we will have Kev and Pete with us, but, you know, for now, self-isolating.
That's why we chose this poster. It's in the spirit, because it's
this
like...
This is for Cam, yeah.
This is Cam and Pete watching over us.
Mm-hmm.
Hi everybody waving. This is very sweet. How's it going, everybody?
Yeah, this is super exciting. I'll say this again later, but I've had a migraine today, so I've literally been in the bedroom binge listening to this.
Yeah.
Haven't I?
Yeah, that's literally all you can do today.
That and baked potato.
Yes, which is a very
baked
important...
Baked potato saved my life. Baked potato showed me the way.
It teaches you a lot about COVID, I think.
It does.
So Disgraceland is awesome. I don't want to give like all the game away for when he rocks up, but he's a podcaster that does a show on sort of it's music and salacious, awesome stories. Like some of it's murder, which is your jam. Some of it's just people being crazy. There's a whole bunch of different stuff, but it's I came across it months and months and months ago and just sort of immediately fell in love with it. It's just the wildest show, and it's one of those things where it's one of those shows where you're really excited to share it with people, and that's what Disgraceland is. That's why we're so excited for you guys to check it as well, because it is legit. It's just such an exciting thing to get to share with people. It's one of our favourite shows.
1,000,000%.
Is that him? Is he requested to join?
Yes, here we go. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're going to bring him on now. So everybody do like nice waves and stuff. Go. What do you do if I hung up?
Wouldn't be surprised.
No.
Hey guys.
What's up? Look, it works.
How you doing?
We are so good. How are you? I'm
great.
fully fangirling over here right now.
No,
I just want to let you know.
Great to meet you.
Yeah, you too, man. You too.
Great to meet you, man.
Thanks for doing this. And it's a two-way street. I'm in love with your music, so it's all good.
Ah, that's awesome.
I'm just gonna leave and cry.
I used to when I found your stuff and I was sharing it with everybody, I used to literally walk down the street imagining whether we'd be cheese in the opening description or not.
I think everybody's kind of cheese. Like
Yeah,
there's this misconception that cheese is bad, and it's not. I think the Beatles were the only ones, maybe Elton John, who escaped the cheese quote.
Yeah, I think there was maybe like one or two. And once I realized that the bar was that specific thing and cheese wasn't a bad thing, I was like, I'm fine being cheese.
I'll be cheese. Honestly, I was just saying to people that I've had.
Sorry, I was gonna say you should be
this morning, and I've been binge listening to you.
Nice.
So thank you for getting me through that, because I'm okay now. So I consider that you healing me. And we're so stoked to have you here, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm psyched to be here. I'm psyched to be talking to real people. This is good.
Oh.
Feels
Yeah,
human.
us too.
So how did Disgraceland even come about? Like, what was the genesis of the whole idea?
I knew I wanted to do a podcast, but even before that, I was reading that book, Please Kill Me by Legs McNeil. And it was the second time I was reading it, and my first son had just been born at that time. So your whole perspective changes. And I was reading about Lou Reed and Iggy Pop and David Johansen, all these rock stars that I've loved my whole life. And with the perspective of having a kid now, I was kind of like, I love these guys, but I wouldn't leave them in the room with my son. It just started my thinking a little bit differently. And I knew I wanted to sort of tell these wild, nutty stories that were going on. But there's so much of that in journalism and in just music journalism in general. I just got lucky one day and thought about it from the perspective of the criminal angle and how I love true crime. And then when I sort of had that guardrail of like, okay, I can talk about musicians, but it has to be from the perspective of crime, it just kind of clicked for me.
I mean, that's so sick.
That was the thing that amazed me. The whole project felt fully formed from episode 1. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've done, if you had podcasts before this or whether there was a trial and everything, but this, like, the thing was fully fucking formed from
It's
episode
almost
1.
like theater.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're so, listening to you is so, I envision everything in my mind that you're saying, and it's so well put together. Whereas I know I listen to a lot of podcasts, and so does Rob, but yours is so, I don't know, just put together is the only phrase I can think at the moment. But
thank you. I mean, it was it didn't feel put together when I put the first episode out, and even now when I go back and if I haven't listened to them in a while, but the last time I did, I cringe. It's like anything. You guys know, you're musicians. You go back and listen to stuff you recorded yesterday, and you're like, I can't fucking stand it. It's
Never do.
But I did think about it as though I were releasing something that, I've released records in the past and stuff like that, and I thought about it in those terms. I'm putting something out. It's going to be out there. I want it to be as good as possible. It took me forever to figure out how to do the first episode. And after that, I'm still refining the process now, and I'm often wrong. Like, I think about, I'll release an episode, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be amazing. This is the best thing I've ever done. And then it doesn't perform well at all. So I have no idea. I just consistently try to write the best story I can and produce the best piece of audio that I can.
I mean, you do it well.
Thank
obviously,
you.
So
it must be really hard. Like, it must be really hard being that creative and having that strict a schedule as well. I completely understand why you do it in seasons, because there's so much effort that goes into what you make.
Yeah. Oh, hey, what's up, Tony? Do you see Tony Cavallero just joined? Do you know who that dude is?
Not off the top of my head.
He's the guy who played Ozzy in the movie The Dirt. The movie The Dirt about Motley Crue. And there he is. And he's on an amazing HBO show as well. But no, I met him through the podcast, which is a great thing.
Oh my gosh. Do you meet a lot of, like, I don't know, influential people through what you do?
Yeah, some. Yeah, it's blown my mind. Yeah, there's been, the Elton John thing was like mind blowing, almost as cool as meeting Tony Cavallero via Instagram. But but yeah, I had somebody text me, or not text me, DM me either through Instagram or Twitter a couple days ago, who claims that his father was best friends with Jim Morrison's father in the Navy, and his father was an ordained minister or something, and he actually baptized Jim Morrison.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No way of verifying it, but I get a lot of that kind of crazy second nature stuff. I had people from Elvis's family send me like family photos, which was really cool, like unseen photos, which is kind of mind blowing. So yeah, there's been a lot of that. It's pretty fun.
Wow, I'm jealous of you.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Look. Do I even need to mention who's like on your record? Or, come on.
Well, like,
talk about jealous. Pete Townsend. What are we talking about?
Yeah, we love him.
I've got some questions that I was going to.
I was listening to your Keith Moon episode today, and I was
nice.
like, and he's told us, his stories firsthand. So that was so cool to listen to.
I'm sure the real stories that aren't out in the open, like I get everything from biographies, if I'm lucky, autobiographies, documentaries, but I'm sure the stories that Pete Townsend has about Keith Moon are way beyond anything you can pick up in a book. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm trying to think judiciously, because I know he'll watch this.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what do you say? It is allowed.
He tells a great story about was it Keith who was off his tits on the plane? There was Yeah, it was Keith was high
Yeah.
as a kite on a plane. So Pete, Pete took some drugs with him just to sort of like join in, basically.
Yeah.
He said he just sort of left his body and flew above the plane, and he was sat on the plane, and the universe explained itself to him. And then he realized he needed to get back in his body, otherwise he would disappear forever and cease to exist.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I should probably just go back and start playing music again.
Yeah. Sounds
Yeah.
about right.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah. He told us that while we were in the studio, and we were just like, we were eating lunch. I think we were eating falafel, and we were just going like, okay.
Mind blowing.
That's fine.
I'd eaten a ham sandwich the day before and had violent food poisoning. And it was like the saddest disconnect between like Pete Townsend's stories and then me like trying not to vomit on his like trying not to vomit on his
ridiculous studio equipment. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, he is like, you know, it goes without saying, he's a rock god, obviously.
Yeah.
But just one of those rare dudes in the history of music who there was no playbook before him. And he, you know, for the sort of archetype guitar player, songwriter, creative producer that he became, he kind of wrote his own rule book that everybody is still following. Those are the ones, him, Elton John, the guys in the Stones, they'll forever be set apart because of that. And they're all different. None of them followed the same path. They all kind of broke through in their own way.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you guys get to work with him. I mean, that's incredible.
We thank our gods every day. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And, you know, he's the most, I'll just put this out there, he's the most humble and incredible man on the planet. Like, when we get to work with him, it's unreal, because there's not an ounce of, I don't know, like, he's just so grateful for what he's got.
Yeah. Wow.
And
that's great to hear.
Also so chill.
Yeah.
You know. So we're very, very thankful. Hopefully one day we'll get Elton John as well.
Yeah. That'd be amazing. So what's going on? You guys are still I feel bad for you guys. You put out this amazing record, amazing single. You got this tour with The Who coming up. I mean, what happens now that we're in this ridiculous reality?
We were so close.
So close.
Nah, it's cool. Stuff's getting rescheduled for next year, so we're still going to be out there.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
yeah.
Nothing's been cancelled. It's just been postponed. You know, it's the same for all of us. We're all in the same position, and you know, it'll be all the sweeter when it comes together.
I mean, amazing foresight in the title of your single, though, I gotta say. I mean, that kind of hit it out of the park with Better Off Alone, right?
Yeah.
Guys planning on that?
Oh shit, I didn't even realize.
Oh,
We need to put that in front of all of
yeah,
this
okay. We're copywriting that. Don't.
You just say we're copyrighting our own song.
Yeah, well, his idea.
Alright, cool. So like, I'm comfortable in saying that I was having a rough time of it a few months ago, and genuinely one of the things that was super comforting to me, and one of the things that got me through was just like your podcast and listening to it and sort of being taken away by those stories, and it was a big help to me. So thank you for that. But also, what blew my mind was, I know it's like going back to the world of Pete Townsend, but when I was listening to that episode, you nailed Pete's temperament. That was something that really fascinated me. Like I can see, knowing the guy, I could see the characters and see that world, and there must be so much research that goes on your side and that sort of thing. There must, like, behind the scenes, to have that level. Like, what's the process with regards to, like, how do you choose these stories? How do you edit them? And then how do you decide what route to go? I mean, are you comfortable sort of, what am I trying to say? Like, being lax with, do you give yourself artistic license when it comes to characters?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it as, first of all, I'm glad you said that. There's a ton of research that goes into it, and I think I don't give myself enough. I tend to think anybody could do this if you give them the playbook. But I have been a fan of music, rock and roll, rock history, hip hop, soul, R&B, all of it my whole life. So I have a base understanding of who these characters already are and what their temperament already kind of is. And I've heard some of these stories in the past. And then when I get in and I actually research them, I'm reading books about them, obviously. Autobiographies are amazing, documentaries, etc. And just through knowing the music, you get a real sense of who these people are. So it makes it easier. I'm writing 2 episodes on Oasis right now, and there's a lot of, there's a great book by them, a great biography on them. It's written really, really well. I'm blanking on the name right now. It was by one of their friends. Mm-hmm. But it's all of the sort of that Manchester slang is, what is it, Mancunian? Is that how it's pronounced? Is in the book. And I told myself when I was researching it, as great as that was, I was like, there's no way I'm going to incorporate this into my writing because I'm going to sound stupid doing it when I voice it. But then you just develop such a familiarity with it that you're confident in doing it. So I can pull on those references and those words because I kind of know what's behind them. Mm-hmm. And the same goes with when I'm taking license. I look at this as, you guys, I think, have worked in or are working in television, right? So there's, I look at TV shows about real people and how they're scripted. And at the end of the day, they have the responsibility to get the story across, which is, if it's a true story, they need to get that across, and they need to serve the actual character in the story and be true to that. But you also have to move a narrative from point A to point B in whatever medium you're in. And oftentimes I feel like a lot of people need to get creative to do that. So what I'm doing when I take a creative leap or creative license, and I do oftentimes, I don't do it in a way that is misrepresentative of the story or the character. So I'm not going to, I don't know what Pete Townshend's thinking when he's on stage at Woodstock, but I've read enough about it in my life to know that what I'm going to say has a high degree of accuracy, and it supports the story and the point that I'm trying to get across. Yeah. And, I don't know if he'll disagree. Maybe he will. I don't know. He's
it was exactly what he was thinking.
Yeah. So that's incredidible to hear. But it's, so I'm trying to come at it from that point. I'm never trying to come at it from a fictional thing. I'm not trying to put Ozzy Osbourne in a situation that he wasn't in just for the hell of it. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get the story across. In the same way that if you watch a television show like Narcos, they have no idea what Pablo Escobar is actually thinking when he's sitting down at the table with his henchmen, but they have to create dialogue, and they base that on true events and what happened in a way to move the story forward. So that's where I'm coming from. And I made the decision really early on that I'm not a journalist. I'm not going to pretend to be a journalist. I'm not interested in doing a music journalism podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm interested in entertainment. I'm interested in doing something that's going to grip you and immerse you and keep you coming back and help you pass 30 minutes of time in your commute. And that's what I'm going for.
And you do it well. Like what you were just saying, for me, I was listening, to your Amy Winehouse one, and I felt like I was there. Do you know what I mean? It was like I was so immersed in that episode that I was just like, I can see it. I can visualize everything. It was incredible. So thank you.
Thank you.
Isn't that funny how we view him how we view Disgraceland in like a different prism to those TV shows. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. I don't know. I think it's because I prefer it.
Yeah. Well, it's a different medium. You know what I mean? It's totally. It's new. It's a new medium, and not a lot of people are doing this sort of single voice narrative scripted thing that I'm doing. Most people think of podcasts as more of this type of thing, like we're two parties or two groups talking back and forth. Yeah. And that didn't interest me because it just seemed like something that would be really hard to coordinate. I thought if I write it myself, I can just do it myself and I don't have to worry about anyone else.
Yeah.
No, it's a incredible. What you do is so captivating. We're obviously huge fans. So
is there a lot of self-editing on your part? Like once you, because you've done this for a while now, is it you get a rhythm that you understand what the beats are within a 30-minute limit, or do you record it and then you find you have to sort of move bits? Like, is there a
No,
subconscious target that sort of turns up?
yeah, I've got it now. There's a strict word count that I've become even more strict about in the last couple months, where I know how to get it to be around 30 minutes. And I know exactly before I set out to write it, it's all outlined, and I know which stories I want to hang every segment around. And I'm always trying to tell the story through, if I'm lucky, different crimes that have been committed, or different sort of like just insane events. Like, even if it's not a crime, like, with the Oasis episode, there's crime there, but there's nothing, there's no murder or anything like that. But there is driving a Rolls Royce into a pool to get the cover of an album shot, which is a pretty unique way for me to then talk about that period of their career and that record, Be Here Now, as opposed to just starting off with, in 1996, Oasis recorded Be Here Now, and it went to blah, blah. It's like, I'd rather be like, in 1996, Noel Gallagher spent $100,000 to drive a fucking Rolls Royce into a pool to get an album cover shot, and then get into it that way.
Yeah.
So it's sort of those anchor stories are what I'm trying to build around and write around, and I have that all mapped out before I even get into the writing.
Sounds like a song, dude.
What's that?
It sounds like a song.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, yeah, it's verse, chorus, bridge, solo, whatever, and then you're out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was there a bridge for you between the music and the podcast? Did you have training for what you're doing, or was it literally the music has informed? Because now I'm hearing you say it, I can hear the songwriting in the podcast and in the writing you're doing. I can hear all those pieces now. It's really interesting.
I 100% looked at writing out a 30-minute podcast episode as writing out a song. It was the exact same thing to me. And then taking it back even further, when I first got into I was in like punk and hardcore bands where the songwriting when I was younger wasn't as traditional, and I was just writing lyrics and coming up with melodies and someone else writing music. But by the time I got into writing actual like pop songs, even then, and I started, learning Beatles covers and all that stuff, it became very obvious to me way early on that, oh, this is just like an article in a newspaper or a thesis paper at school, where it's all built around a central point and you have your different spots in it to make that point and to express it. So the podcast just became another version of that for me. It was totally informed by music.
Maybe that's what it is. That there's always been a different tone. There's something that's always resonated with me. I'm still thinking about the Narcos thing. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's that you can hear the songwriting, you can hear the songcraft in the way that it goes and the way it sort of makes you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's why it's so enjoyable to listen to. For me anyway, because I'm a real passionate lover of weirdly true crime. It's like my favorite genre, and horror. I don't know why, but out of
literally, like sometimes when I come home and she's fallen asleep on the couch, she watches Alien or Midsummer. That's like her go to sleep film.
Yeah, but I will go to sleep to this film. But it is the case that your podcast, and I'm not putting down any others, but the way that yours is written out and performed is almost like a song, like he said, and it is very calming, which I don't know if it should be, but that's the way my brain is wired.
That's like the ultimate compliment.
Yeah. So
well, compared to horror, I could see how it could be calming, but
take it from somebody that goes to sleep watching Alien.
Yeah,
that's a compliment.
Nice. Thank you.
A lovely fan has asked the question saying, what advice would you give to people who want to start and create podcasts?
Well, there's all kinds of technical advice that you can find anywhere with a Google search, but I would say the most important thing for me that I was lucky enough to stumble onto was to just have a clear point of view in what you want to say and what your podcast is going to be about. And then everything else can kind of be filled in around that.
Yeah.
If the show sucks, You in. Okay, got it. All right, thought that
was okay. Okay, I like it.
Good. I have a personal question.
Sure.
So we in the band, we tend to name all of our instruments, and I wanted to know whether you have named the mellotron.
I haven't.
So,
No, I have not.
you've not named it?
I have not named the mellotron. I haven't even thought to. That's maybe we should take some requests on what to name it.
What people watching? What should the mellotron's name be, please?
Yes.
We'll be taking donations.
Yeah. Well,
does Pete have a mellotron in his studio?
I mean,
Pete has every single instrument on the
It wouldn't
planet.
surprise me if he did. Actually, it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't either, because they're super fickle and hard to maintain. But
He has one.
yeah.
he's got some wild. He's got like a whole room where the ceiling is just speakers that are nailed to the ceiling, but in ladies' tights. So when he plays a specific organ, one of his engineers just has to like spin the
speakers. Yeah,
the
we have a video of that where she was just spinning them whilst he was playing an organ to try and get a different sound.
I think we have it on one of the.
It's on one of our tracks. Actually.
Have we sent you the new stuff? The stuff we've done with Pete?
No, well, is that the stuff that's on Spotify, the last album?
No. We'll send you this. It's not released.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
yes, please.
But it is. Yeah, there is at one point an engineer spinning speakers on tights.
See if you can spot the spinny speakers.
Wow, love it.
But he definitely has a mellotron, basically.
Nice.
That's what it leads down to.
How many fucking presets does that mellotron have? Like, that blows my mind.
I ran out a long time ago. So these are being created by a kid in Brighton down the road. And I named those. I named those. Yeah. So they're breaking a little news here on your COVID time stories here.
I love this, man.
We're living for this.
We can leave. I think we're done.
Yeah.
We just wanted the deep shit.
Nice.
Just wanted the cheese and the mellotron. That's all.
There you go.
Mellotron, sorry.
Oh, that's funny. So where did the idea come from for the April Fool's episodes? Because I believed it, and for quite some time.
Thank you. That makes me very happy.
Wait, how the fuck do I not know this?
I don't know where the idea came from. I think there was a thing going around here a couple years ago when Ted Cruz, the Texas senator, was running for president, and somebody claimed he was the Zodiac killer.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting for a second, but I was immediately like, he's not even near the right physicality or age for that to be true. And I started thinking about which rock star would be, and I was just immediately Jim Morrison. And then I looked into it, and I swear to God, like that episode, and the John Denver episode, they're clearly satire, and there's a lot of creative license in them, right? Mm-hmm. A lot. More so than the other episodes. But I swear to God, the Doors historical tour dates line up where he was off during those murders. So it actually makes sense. Like, it makes it's historically accurate. You can go check it. And another weird thing too that I guarantee you everyone thought was bullshit, but in the John Denver one, there's a scene where he takes a chainsaw to his bed with his wife, and he chains it in half. And that actually happened. That was actually him like losing his mind, and he actually did that. And it just fit so well with the maniac in the scripted story.
That's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how these little nuggets just?
Oh, I'm in heaven.
Yeah.
Like this is just like my personal heaven.
Between this and the UFO thing today, I think you're having a mad.
Oh my gosh!
Did you hear about this? This like the Pentagon was saying that they were just like, oh, these things that look like UFOs. Yeah, we don't know what they are. They're probably UFOs, but nobody even noticed. Because 2020 is so wild.
Would not surprise me.
So
If an alien
aliens.
walked up to my front window right now, it wouldn't surprise me. I would just be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that makes sense for 2020. That makes total sense.
That's exactly what we said. We were like, yeah, okay.
We were like, can you
Yeah.
stay meters away, please?
Yeah. I said, why would an alien want to come here right now?
Yeah, that's very true, actually.
Just fuck off.
Are you in London?
Yes,
Mhm.
we're in central London.
Nice. Oh, right on. Very cool.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Yeah, right in the middle. So it's we're not in the studio right now, obviously, which is kind of frustrating. So we're having to sort of songwrite in bits and pieces, but you do what you can to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a good question, then it went out of my head. Do you have any personal favourites? Any personal favourite stories, or is there anything? Do you have anything that you love so much you're almost unwilling to drop it because you want it to be something really special? I saw the whole 27 Club. I've been listening to that and checking that out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, personal favorites. The Frank Sinatra one is
Oh,
definitely.
I've just been listening to that one.
Yeah, there's ones I'm saving there's one I'm going to get into in a couple weeks on Tommy James, who was an American artist, and this heavy mafia connections that I've been waiting to delve into that.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been a few that I won't mention that I wanted to write about that are just, they're too scary, and I don't want to get killed type of things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's been some pretty incredible stories involving different genres of music over here. And yeah. So there's some of that, but I would say my top Disgraceland episodes are probably Frank Sinatra. The recent one on Jay-Z, I'm really proud of. And then like the original, the Jerry Lee Lewis one, because that kicked off everything, including the way I just thought about doing a show and what it would be. And I got the name from Jerry Lee Lewis and the whole thing.
Yeah. That was the reason that episode is the reason I was like, I can't believe that this is the first thing. I mean, it was just so fully formed and such a fun structure as well.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself frustrated by the structure because you've given yourself such a specific form? Do you find yourself, I don't know, I know you can sort of stretch these things out to 2 episodes and that sort of thing, but sometimes, again, the only reason I'm pulling up the Who story is because we were talking about it so recently with regards to Pete and how close the tone was. You do this amazing thing of like world building and creating a space before you honed in on what was arguably the subject of the podcast, you know. But the whole thing felt relevant, and the whole thing felt like you could have gone a million different ways with what you had.
Do you mean, do I find myself restricted in the podcast, like in the structure of it, or with that episode in particular?
No, with the structure of the podcast.
No, I feel invigorated by the structure of it. I feel like if there wasn't that structure, I would be just adrift and not know how to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird, and I don't feel. I mean, obviously, 27 Club is a serialized thing that I wanted to try after I had done a couple 2-part episodes of Disgraceland. I wanted to try how do I tell the story over 10 or 12 episodes like I'm doing in 27 Club.
Mm-hmm.
But with Disgraceland and the tight 30-minute single episode structure, I feel like even now I'm writing 2 episodes a week, and I feel like I'm just starting to like figure out the structure and figure out how to make it really pop and try to be concise and use brevity and be really punchy with it. Maybe one day I'll get to that point where I feel restricted and I'll feel like I need a different medium to tell stories in. But right now I feel like it's still thriving, and I say that, I mean creatively still thriving. Like I'm still figuring out, we're doing the music differently now. I've got a team of like, God, I don't even, maybe 7 people touch the podcast now before it gets done. So it's all, you know, it's all going in a specific direction, and it's none of it has inhibited me or held me back creatively at all yet.
That's very cool. And you say you like research and create, what is it? 2 episodes, you're researching 2 episodes at the moment, or you do 2 episodes a week?
Well, okay, so when I did that first episode, that
Mhm.
took me literally 6 months to do the whole thing, the music, everything. By that time, I'd figured out how to do it, and then it took me a month or so for the next few episodes, and then I got it down to about a 2 week process to write, not including research, but to write and produce the music and everything for an episode. And writing was about a week's time. But since we've been in this lockdown, I've got into this rhythm where I'm writing 2 episodes a week. And I've done like, let's see, I did Prince, 2 Rolling Stones episodes, finished an Oasis episode yesterday. So I guess 4, and then I'll have my 5th one done by the end of the week. And I'm just going to try and see how I can keep going super fast, and just because the more I can get done, the more creative I can be, the more stuff I can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've got other shows I want to do. I've started a podcast production company called Double Elvis, and we've produced other shows that have done really well, and we have other ideas that I want to get into and start executing on. So, but Disgraceland is my baby, and if I can do it fast and keep it creative and do more of it, that's what I want. That's what I want to happen.
Yeah, that's
That's incredible. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you, how do you find, particularly now you've got a family, and how do you, as a creative, do you have to define the terms on a daily basis in which you work?
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard to switch off in these situations, particularly when you're struck by inspiration. It's really difficult to. I mean, it must be really difficult to obviously to have a family and then to be creative and work from home. But I know that me and Sid's, sometimes it's hard to draw that hard line between being a band and being a husband and wife. You know, because the two things have to be separate. Otherwise, everything sort of like falls apart.
Right. Well, there's kind of 2 parts to your question. Like, you know, my wife she's super supportive, and she's been involved with this from the beginning. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but we literally like sold our condo and used the money to support us while I was starting this.
Oh, wow.
To kind of get it going. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without her being cool with it, obviously. It's her condo as well, clearly. And we had a kid at the time, and then we realized we were going to have another kid. So the stakes were really high all of a sudden. And she's been involved in it from the beginning with a lot of the major decisions that have happened, and super supportive. So she gets it. She knows what I'm trying to do. So when we're in a situation like we're in now, where, you know, we're living in this house with a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old who are going crazy, you know, if she wasn't managing them all day, I wouldn't be able to work and do what I do. And I'm on a, you know, to your point about how do you stay on it, it's strictly scheduled. I get up at 5 a.m. every day. I'm writing by 6 a.m. and I have this period. I don't take any calls, any meetings. I don't even I don't even open my email or look at social media until I've got the writing done. And, you know, there's inspiration, and I feel like I just have this like constant, the spigot is always open for the inspiration. I'm walking around, if something hits me, I'll write it down, and then I'll pick it up again in the morning or whatever. And I'll already have that outline of what I'm writing, and I'll know where it'll go into. So it's easier for me now to not get sidetracked and to know how to be precise and prolific at the same time. But it's all about, for me, I can't be creative at the end of the day. It's got to be in the morning. So I've got to get up early, and I've got to start writing, and I've got to just like hold myself to it, you know?
I wish I was like that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
My Lord.
I usually high five myself if I get dressed.
Yeah, exactly. I washed my hair for the first time today in like 2 weeks. Like,
congrats.
Doing great, guys.
Really proud of ourselves.
That is incredible. I mean, naturally, we're, I think, collectively night owls. So what we usually do is work in the evenings in our musicianship. And I wish that wasn't the case, but
I tell you what it
Well,
is.
if it works,
That's true.
That's true, if it works.
I was gonna say, I tell you what I tell you what you are, man. It's fucking brave. Like that is to know when lightning strikes. So we've done a couple of these now, and we've had a dude called Paperboy on who does this incredible artwork with real photos, and then we've had a photographer friend of ours, Marcus Maschwitz, and everybody, and then yourself, and everybody we've spoken to has come at this from a different angle. But the one thing everybody's had in common is been brave enough to see those opportunities and to seize those opportunities. And
yeah.
I really think you should be commended outside of the work you do on the podcast for being brave enough to see that, and your family should be commended for being brave enough to see that as well. What a fucking team you guys are. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. That's huge. I mean, that's how I don't look at myself that way, but I judge artists by that. Like, to me, the definition of great art is how big of a chance are you going to take to express yourself and get it across. And that's what all my favorite artists have done. And the stakes can be different. For me, the stakes are different from somebody else, from yourselves. I'm sure you guys have had to lay it out in a way that's tough and challenging. And I know that being in a relationship with somebody who you're being creative with is not easy at all. It comes with its own sets of challenges, and you guys are bearing it all in your songs, and that's heavy as well. And I think those are the type of artists that I've always been drawn to. So to hear you, sort of put me in that same hat with them makes me feel really great. So thank you.
Mm.
Oh man, so grateful to hear you say that.
Have you noticed yourself doing that? Have you come across points where you've sort of seen like one of your episodes, you found a fork in the road, and you've made the decision to really push yourself in those directions?
Yeah, yes. And sometimes I don't. I mean, to be fair, sometimes I don't take the chance because it's not worth it. And I don't know what the outcome is going to be. But yeah, absolutely. But more often than not, writing, to me, when I think of myself as being creative now, I think of myself as a writer. And, the act of writing, when I'm actually writing, is even beyond what it was for me when I was playing music and being on stage. And writing is the closest I get to being, conscious, to being sort of like outside of my machine-like self of a human, and just being kind of like on this thing that I'm almost not in control of. And I try to just go with it as much as possible,
I think there's two of your episodes. It was the Big Nasty one, and the Stones when they were making Exile on Main Street. Those two episodes, I couldn't tell you why, but they felt like real creative evolutions to me, to the point that literally both of them, I went back and listened to them again once I'd finished. And I mean, obviously, I mean, like the Big Nasty one, obviously it is what it is, and it's a piece of work to be incredibly proud of. But there was something about that Rolling Stones one. There was something about the world you built before you even got to the story that felt like that felt like you'd opened your wings a little. It felt like you really knew you really knew your craft there.
I didn't feel it so much with the Stones one, with that Stones one, as I did with the big Lurch one, where that's the one you're talking about, right?
Big Lurch, sorry, yeah.
Big Lurch.
Sorry.
That one for sure. I definitely felt that was one of those moments where, like I was just talking, I was writing it, and I did not plan on writing that. It just kind of happened. Like I just kept going with it. But I did have the horror thing, to your point. I had the horror thing in my head. I knew I wanted it to sound like a horror movie. And by the time I wrote those words, I was like, and then I had the audio for it. I was like, well, this is a whole other thing. And honestly, it fucked me up. Like it was so dark. It was so brutal.
Yeah.
And it was that one, the Spade Cooley one, and the Rick James one were the last three that I wrote and produced for that season 2. And then I had a long layover before another episode was released. And all three of those episodes had to do with the abuse of women, really violent, brutal horrible abuse that I had depicted, not only depicted, more so been researching and writing about for something like 6 weeks straight. I was a fucking mess afterward. I was just depressed and dark, and so I definitely felt it with that. When it came out too, I was like, whoa, this is cool. That's one of my favorites. That's top 3 for sure.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah.
But the Stones one, I don't know. I mean, that one, maybe because I know and am fascinated. I've always been fascinated with that era of, and particularly the south of France and what that world was, and all the fucking weirdo drug dealers and criminals who were hanging around. And I kind of doubled down on that for the recent 2 Rolling Stones episodes that I just wrote that are more about the sort of swinging London days from earlier, when they were caught up with the socialites and the aristos and that whole thing, and all the characters that were swirling around them then. Really fascinating for me. So you got to play that one for Pete, because he was around during that time. So
I promise. I also used to go to school with Mick Jagger's goddaughter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She had a mansion with a phone on every floor. That's my one claim to fame, apart from Pete, obviously.
Pretty big one.
Yeah.
Do you know what's so interesting? It's like, it's bubbling up in my head. I'm going back again to the what you do with the podcast on songwriting. Somebody was asking me about songs, and we were talking about creativity, and I said that the interesting thing is about songwriting is that every song is its own like being. If there was a route to songwriting, fucking everybody in the world would be doing it. But you have to approach every song separately, because you don't know what it's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what the life of it is going to be.
No.
And it sounds the same with your podcast, dude. It literally, like, hearing you describe those 2 episodes, it sounds like you're songwriting.
Well, you know, when you're writing a song, you feel plugged into something, right? You almost feel, not to sound pretentious, but in a way it's kind of writing itself, or writing you. Like, it's taking you with it, you know? And those are the best songs. The ones where you're writing and you hit that wall. It's like, like, how many times can you run up against the wall before you're just like, fuck it, this one's not working?
Yeah.
But I feel like the best ones are just, you're plugged in and you're just going. And maybe I have that same thing like embedded in me from fucking with music my whole life by the time I got to writing podcasts.
Yeah, it feels like it. Is it always easy once you've chosen the topic, or does sometimes it can be a real slog before you get to that point where you know what you're doing with the episode?
Sometimes, yeah, I wouldn't use the word easy, but some are easier than others. Some have been particularly emotional, that are not in like a really kind of way that anyone would understand, but oftentimes, like I wrote the Kurt Cobain one, which is clearly about suicide, right after my brother committed suicide. And writing that episode was clearly me working that out, or trying to work it out. It was brutal to write, but I had to do it. And then afterward, it's like, it's this thing that I don't want to say proud of, but it's a piece of me in a way that a song would be as well. Those ones are harder or different. I mean, they're really hard when I'm not interested in the subject, like I started, but I usually know in the research if that's going to happen, and I'll bail. Like, I started researching Aerosmith and I was like, I just fucking hate these guys. I'm not spending 2 weeks reading about them and then writing, you know what I mean? Fuck it, I don't have to, like, why do that? I like writing about artists I love and am fascinated with, and trying to figure out their behavior, and then also writing about artists that I don't necessarily know anything about, but who are interesting. Like the A$AP Rocky one was one of those episodes. Cardi B was certainly one of those episodes. And even if I know the artist well, like the Oasis stuff I'm writing now, I don't know it like you guys know it over there. Like, being British and being into Oasis, your perspective is completely different than it is if you're American. And the only reason I really now understand that is because I've spent a week reading about them and writing about them. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to me from that angle.
Well, that's amazing. the amount of research, especially because when we write songs, I research nothing. I just go like la 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 and hope something.
I think the most exciting thing. I think the most exciting thing for me with this conversation is the fact how clear it is that there's so much of you in these episodes.
Yes.
And I think that's why it resonates with us, and I think it's why it resonates with people who are, you know, everybody else that's listening to the podcast. And I think that's what it is, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I felt like, sorry to interrupt, I felt like I knew you before we even had this conversation.
Wow.
And
that's crazy to hear.
It's like, these things, I'm not a people person. I don't like talking to strangers. I don't like meeting new people or whatever. But having listened to your podcast, I really feel like I already kind of knew you, if that makes any sense. I just felt comforted. Comforted is the word.
Interesting.
And so I wasn't uncomfortable to do this. It was like, cool. It's almost like speaking to a friend.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I love that.
even though the subject can kind of be a bit, you know, whatever.
Yeah, you normally get anxious for these, but you were just excited.
Yeah, super excited. That's why I was like, fangirl.
That's awesome to hear. No, I like that. I mean, that's what I mean, honestly, listening to your music, I feel like you get a sense of who you guys are as well. I mean, it's weird when you listen to any, you know, they say don't meet your heroes or whatever. Like, you definitely know who the artists are. You know some part of them, even if you're constructing something that might be like based on an image or something false, but you're definitely getting a taste of who the person is. I've never once thought of Disgraceland as doing that for me, because it's weird. I feel more like someone presenting something oftentimes than someone who's making something and putting themselves into it.
I mean, you certainly present it fantastically, obviously, but I think, you know, you also bring the sense of almost calm to it, or like I said before, theater that makes you feel like you know the person.
Yeah, it's funny you saying that now, because I've realized how much of you is in those episodes.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Maybe that's why I had to go back and listen to them straight after.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I would tell you, people do not like that. There's a lot of, I mean, most of the criticism has been that it's opinionated, that I put my opinion into it, that I put, you know what I mean, that it's editorial.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But to me, I'm like, why the fuck not? You know, like, I don't want to, like I said, I'm not a journalist. I don't want to read something in the middle of the road. You know what I mean? Like, why do people care if there's an opinion involved? You know what I mean? To me, that's what makes it interesting.
Completely. And it's also your podcast. So your podcast, your opinion.
We want to be taken on a journey.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Well, I think a lot of people just, so much of podcasting was born out of journalism, that people expect it to be journalistic, and there's like a middle of the road, down the road way of telling stories that is journalism that I clearly do not adhere to, but that doesn't interest me. It never has. And like I said from the beginning, being entertaining and being able to have fun, and I'm a smart ass in real life, so why shouldn't I be in my writing? It's naturally who I am.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Completely agree.
Yeah. And anybody that's watching, I think if you take anything from this, be brave, put yourself in these situations, and if you find something that you love, don't be afraid to, you know, it doesn't have to be a job. It doesn't have to be a fucking job. It can be anything you want, but if it's something that you love, you know, hopefully we can all be as successful as Disgraceland, and hopefully we can all keep making great content.
And the wild things.
Thanks, brother. Disgraceland's got a whole bunch of cool shit. Like, go listen to his stuff, buy books, support any way you can, please. Like, in this time, artists, I think everybody's realizing how important artists are, because there's a lot of pushback from governments and stuff saying, oh, it doesn't matter. But if you took away people's music and TV and podcasts,
what would we have?
Everybody'd be fucked. So so go give Disgraceland some love, please, because like, buy some stuff, tell him how much he's worth, because shit's bad.
Yeah, and also, like, I don't want to sound like a creepy girl, but you have the coolest style,
You do,
like,
man.
on the planet. We fully
Thank you.
Google imaged you before.
Is that you in the leather jacket?
Like your hair and everything, and the leather, so cool.
Yeah, cool.
So freaking cool. So well done you for that.
Thank
alone.
you very much.
Aside
You-
from this podcast.
You just like it because you're British. That's why. Like in America, people don't care.
Well, then they're stupid.
Cool.
Yeah.
Somebody just wrote creepy in the comments.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm sorry for being creepy. He looks good, so sue me. Jeez.
Thank you guys
my
so
hair.
much. I'm hoping that we get to hang out in person at some point.
Yes,
This is very
yes,
cool.
yes. I promise. When we embark on that tour, we will be doing New York, so we'll come and see you.
And Boston.
Awesome.
So that is that not you? I never took.
We'll find each other. Small country.
I never took geography.
I can't wait to hang, man.
Yeah, me too. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank
you
you
so
so much.
All right, awesome. We'll see you guys.
See you later, buddy.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
Take care. Stay healthy.
Yeah, you too.